The nanotechnology in Ciconia is called the 8 million system, or amos for short. I'm going to call it amos. Okay? Okay. Chapter 8, The Third Aptitude, shows us the work of a scientist in Virdrysik's underground lab. The scientist worked on a way to achieve physical immortality. He developed an amos that keeps a human body perpetually young. However, it's unfinished because it has bad side effects. It disfigures and pains the body and disturbs the mind. You wouldn't want to live like that. The scientist has tried to hang himself, but is probably still alive despite that. That means the amos not only prevents aging, but also somehow makes the body resistant to physical harm, even if it would normally be fatal. I call this the zombie amos. I think a good way to summarize its effect is to say that it turns people into zombies. It messes with people's skin, making it obvious that there's something going on visually. It makes people physically hardy. Bodily damage has little effect. It disturbs their minds, making their behavior not very intelligent. And of course, it makes them live for a long, long time. They're zombies. There's not much indication that it's infectious, how zombification is sometimes portrayed. Still, amos invisibly spreads all over the world. It wouldn't be surprising if zombie amos could spread all over, even without any kind of contact between infected and non-infected people. It seems this process has already begun near the end of Phase 1. In Chapter 23, Revolt of the Drones, Jaden and Meow talk about developing weird rashes. This could be one of the physical side effects of the amos. And you know what they say? Once it's begun, it already has ended. I think that worldwide zombification is a prerequisite for the factory world future. The overwhelming strangeness and horror of that scene can distract from some important details. People are being stripped down to just brains and spinal cords. A head with a spinal cord, but it's still twitching, still alive. Just think about this for a second. This is normally what you would call a perfect medical examination. If there were a body reduced to this state, you'd be sure it was dead. But these people are not dead. How can that be? The zombie amos makes the person's body hard to kill. That could be what's keeping these people alive when they would normally be dead, just like a person hanging by a rope tied around their neck. It's not at all clear just how hard to kill these zombies are. The factory world requires a pretty extreme degree of survivability. It's a lot to assume, but it does fit. The voice that follows Meow's strange visions says that the factory world is a prophecy. Eraser Meow prophesies that humanity will lose its intelligence, which I interpret as a description of the zombie amos. I believe these events are connected, and they're both relayed by prophecies. So there's some consistency in this overall prophetic story, for whatever that's worth. But even if you somehow know ahead of time what will happen, causality still applies. Things happen for reasons. So why does the incomplete zombie amos get released into the world? What causes the zombie apocalypse? It was created in Vir's lab. Is it released intentionally? Is that part of Mario's machine? Is it just an accident of some sort? Before I can explain my thoughts on this, I need to explain a few other things. First of all, Virdrysik's secret underground lab. I don't think it really exists. Or, to put it more precisely, there will never be any verifiable event that requires this lab to explain it. It's like magic. You can believe in it if you want, but you'll never be logically compelled to do so. One staple of the When They Cry series is that the camera lies. Some events are shown that are not accurate or verifiable. You have to figure out what to believe and disbelieve. I disbelieve in Vir's underground lab. Then where does the zombie amos come from? Does it even exist? Do we really know anything about it? I think we do. The underground lab scenes are not meaningless nonsense, they just can't be taken literally. I think they provide real information, but in a figurative or a distorted way. These scenes aren't in the story just to waste the reader's time. They could be a fanciful interpretation of real events, or a story some character is telling, or a delusion some character is having. The point is, there's some kernel of truth in there. I take the overall description of the zombie amos at face value. Okay, but I'm still saying the zombie amos is created and unleashed on the world. So who does that and why? I have to go on another tangent. Koshka. Miss Kitty, the girl who was considered military equipment and is repeatedly experimented on deep underneath Giroi Level 4 Heavy Military Research Center. She's also called the Pandora, and the nature of her special attributes is not stated clearly. Data Fragment 15 gives the most hints. The researchers say she's humanity's last hope, that the planet is already dead, and that humanity doesn't have much time left. Pandora, on the other hand, will be allowed to go to the New World. They're trying to reveal her secret to let some trace of civilization survive. Now, that's a strange situation. How do they know that humanity is doomed? How do they understand humanity's downfall so well that they know who will manage to survive it? There are some characters who claim to deliver prophecy, the word of God. They tend to foresee doom, and they have a pretty good track record so far. So Giroi could be acting on yet another prophecy. But I don't think we need to rely on prophecy in this case. In Chapter 21, The Dignity of Returning to Dust, Amos technicians explain that the planet's demise is well understood in the Amos community. They say that the planet is already dead, the same language used by the Giroi researchers. I believe this impending ecological disaster is Giroi's focus. They're talking about the fact that the ecosystem will rapidly deteriorate once Amos is not properly maintained for whatever reason. So Koshka can somehow survive on an ecologically devastated planet? How did Giroi figure that out? I think it's a little more complicated than that. The eventual failure of the Amos planetary life support has long been predicted, probably since Amos was first released about 100 years ago. Giroi has been thinking about this problem for potentially quite a long time. I believe their answer was to try and make humanity more resilient to environmental conditions, so the planet's ecological state wouldn't bother us too much. I believe they developed the zombie amos. They wanted to make humans hard to kill, so they could survive the planet's death. By the way, Giroi used to be a research center for regenerative medicine. However, they were never able to get rid of the negative side effects, so their efforts were far from a success, and they know it. But they did find one unique individual who is immune to the negative side effects of the zombie amos, or at least the mental side effects, which are its most devastating flaw. This is Koshka, the Pandora. If the ecosystem spirals out of control and the zombie amos is released, Koshka could be the one sane human left in the zombie hellscape. Since Giroi is experimenting with the amos they created, they can notice that a person unlucky enough to be their test subject is immune to some aspect of it. They can't know for sure how many other people around the world have similar immunity, but they've never found another one. Only Koshka. They're trying to duplicate whatever gift she has so that more people can live on after environmental failure. They did not seem to succeed at this goal. Despite that, the planet's death seems to have arrived. I believe Giroi leadership felt the time was up at the end of the story, and released Zombie Amos, despite its side effects and despite their failure to duplicate Koshka's gift. It was a desperate move, but they thought humanity was about to be wiped out. As the Zombie Amos spreads among humanity, it's possible that a few more lucky people have the same immunity. It would be up to those people and Koshka to carry on humanity's legacy. It's a long shot, but it's better than extinction. At least, that's what the people at Giroi thought. That brings us back to Mario's machine. Even if it's not to be taken literally, how do we interpret it? Is this the long-awaited ecological disaster? Is it a rain ceremony, intentional action by humans intended to cause a natural event? Are prophetic predictions unavoidable? And what about Koshka's dream of rebirth? Let's think about it together, and look forward to more videos about these topics.